Welcome. My name is Henning Piezunka. I'm an assistant professor in the entrepreneurship department. Today, with us, Dietmar Harhoff, director at the Max Planck Institute in Munich. Welcome, Dietmar.
Thanks, Henning. Great to be here.
One thing I find particularly fascinating about your academic or your career is that beyond actually kind of spanning different topics, you've also spanned different spheres. So besides being a professor and being a director at the Max Planck Institute, you have also kind of helped the German startup scene by kind of helping to co-found an accelerator. You're also working actually with the government as part of an initiative to foster the innovativeness of Germany. Could you talk a little bit about these? What are you doing in these fields and how they help one another?
Yeah. I think I should say to start with that my bosses are usually very worried about me because I'm not a classic academic. I like to do things actively. I know that I'm not an executive, I'm not a manager. But then again, to give you an example, in 2010, I was spending some time at Stanford. Actually, we met there many years ago. And I simply encountered this wonderful ecosystem of accelerator institutions. So the Polish government had an accelerator, the Danish government, the Swedish government, the Austrian government, and sort of I was curious. I was just really intrigued. What does that mean? Why are they doing that? And pretty soon I realized that they're doing something very valuable by providing a platform, a launch pad, to their respective startups to grow the business, to do business development in arguably the most important ecosystem for technical innovation or for business model innovation in the world, which is Silicon Valley. Luckily, I ran into a German venture capitalist who was there at the same time, Dirk Kangieser, and we said, hey, we should do this. And we wrote something up, we developed a concept, we met the right people in the German government, and pretty soon it was up and running. It's still up and running, and it's now also in New York. And just recently, the German accelerator Life Sciences started up in Boston and will now be a platform for life science startups from Germany. And in essence, I think it's a coincidence of meeting the right people, of having the right idea at the right time, and of not being deterred by stepping out of one's role.
You had introduced this German Silicon Valley accelerator. I'm very fascinated by this. If a venture actually applies and gets accepted, what does then happen in the next step?
Okay, typically the ventures that get accepted, and it's a very competitive process, by the way. We get together twice a year, and it's a total of 160 to 180 startups applying per year, and we pick out anywhere between per year 25. 25 to 30. We send them to Silicon Valley, or they go to Silicon Valley then on a rotating basis, so on a quarterly basis. And they stay for 3 months. That's the typical case. They are supported by a lead mentor and several specialty mentors. And the biggest asset that the German accelerator has is really the network of mentors who love to work with these startups from Germany, who need to find their way into this ecosystem, who need to sort of become acquainted with how they pitch their ideas, how to communicate their vision, how to acquire support from major stakeholders in the United States. And that's not always easy because they have started their endeavor, they're started in a certain way, they get socialized in a certain way. Fortunately, most of them are very flexible, and quite a number of them have done this very, very successfully. But I need to emphasize this, the biggest asset is really, again, the people, the mentors who help to sort of find the right mix of business model, of new team members, maybe new finance, maybe new sales approach, new go-to-market strategy for the United States. And I hope what comes out of that is a number of notable successes, so that we have more role models in Germany because we have by now a great number and really high quality teams and startups. So entrepreneurship has really made a leap forward in Germany over the past 15 years due to a number of reasons. But we're still in need of the scale up, the big ones, the successful ones that then become the maybe next SAP or a leading corporation in tomorrow's world.
You had just pointed out that German startups, or more in general European startups,
Yes.
strive to sometimes kind of lack on scaling or do not scale in the same way as US startups do. What do you believe are the key reasons why they do not scale in the same way?
I think the first one is very often a lack of ambition. So a situation that came up very often in the interviews, in the pitches at the German Accelerator selection, was the question coming from the jurors, of some folks from Silicon Valley: why don't you want to make this a really big thing? Why are you happy with going for an exit value of 50 million, 100 million? Why is this not a billion-dollar company or multi-billion-dollar company? And I think what you see is a certain tendency that I can only explain by forces of socialization, that we tend to think smaller than we would have to in Germany, and we're sort of preaching that and we're socializing that. Be humble, be honest. Honest is okay, but be too humble can be a truly big impediment in this startup business. So it sometimes takes a while to get them to see that there's a bigger vision behind what they have already, and that they should try to work with that vision. The second is, of course, finance. It's much harder to find, for the same amount, let's say for 10 million, finance in Germany than in Silicon Valley. It's much harder to find finance for 1 million in Germany than in Silicon Valley. There has been a shift by now, so the lower end, the early financing rounds are working reasonably well by now. Business angel finance is well established in Germany by now. But once you get to an A round with a institutionalized investor, with venture capitalists and so forth, or a B round, then the thin air really strikes you.